In today's video, we're going to examine Jack Tame and his interview with David Seymour about the Treaty Principles Bill. It's worth noting at the very start that Jack Tame and his program are financed through the Public Interest Journalism Fund. In the last round of funding, TVNZ received $842,000 to keep Jack's show going. That's nearly $1 million. You can't get this money unless you are pro-co-governance and pro-Maorification. So they obviously see Jack as a faithful activist for the Maori cause. When you watch this interview and the questions Jack asks, it's obvious that Jack is an activist, pushing the radical Maori cause. Watch.
We will advance ACT's Treaty Principles Act. It will be drafted, voted on, sent to Select Committee and consulted on.
We will not be led down a path of erasure.
Okay, so what you have here is you have TVNZ, which is an activist television station, and you get a Maori lady saying, we are not going to be erased. We're going to not let erasure happen to us. In other words, Maori being wiped out as a race of people. And of course, it would be very unlikely that any of the people who are in these crowds have ever studied the treaty or have any knowledge about what is actually going on. And so they are like sheep without a shepherd who are being driven along by the rhetoric of radical Maori. People like John Tamiri, people like Waititi and Waititi's wife Kiri. And so these people have no idea what they're protesting really about at all, except they're being told certain things from above by their radicalizing Maori leaders. And so this is the situation we face here.
The reason why I'm here is for her. Government announces 15 policies.
Okay, so they're trying to pull the emotional heartstrings. We're here for our children, they say. And, of course, it's all untrue that the government is going to erase Maori. They've given Maori so much money and so much help and so much assistance over the last 184 years that no other culture has received, and so this is just nonsense talk. You'll remember that Sirapa Rananata, New Zealand's greatest Maori MP in the 1920s and 30s, a doctor of literature, got a law degree in 2 years instead of 3. He was very bright and an amazing man. He said, "Let me acknowledge first that in the whole world, I doubt whether any native race has been so well treated by European people as the Maori." And there's the reference.
That are going to put Maori back to the Dark Ages.
Okay, so John Tamiri says that the Treaty Principles Bill and the coalition government are going to put back Maori to the Dark Ages. Yeah, right. Maori have every opportunity in this country to succeed like everybody else. There's nothing Maori can't access that everybody else can access. They have the same access as everybody else. In fact, they have more scholarships, more entry into courses, more financial assistance, more financial benefits for housing and welfare and everything. They are a first-class people group in New Zealand. They receive first-class treatment from the government. So now they go to the marae in Ngaruawahia, and let's see what they say here. And of course, TVNZ is stitching all this together to show a large group of people who are they're a powerful group and you don't want to mess with them. This is the impression that the TVNZ is going to try and give us, that this is a large army of people and the government should be worried and the people of New Zealand should be worried, but it's actually only a tiny, tiny fraction of the country who's involved here.
The best protest we can do right now is being Maori.
So the first protest we can do is being Maori. Well, what does that mean? Honestly, everybody knows who Maori are. Everybody knows their identity. And so I'm not sure what he was saying there, but he's saying we need to be proud of being Maori. Now, you know what? I think if they want to be proud of being Maori, they need to clean up all their negative social statistics. They top the charts in obesity, child abuse, hospitalization, early death rates, 3 times overrepresented in prison, low outcomes in education, and on it goes. If you want to be proud of being a Maori, work on your Maori culture and sort it out. It's got nothing to do with colonialism. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. You can't play the victim card. It has to do with Maori. Their poor outcomes have to do with Maori. And I've written a paper about this, which you can see in the description of this video. You know what's really interesting for me is I've been reading a lot about Alan Duff, the celebrated author, the guy who put together Once Were Warriors, who wrote the script to it at least. He says that Maori have no ability to self-evaluate or self-analyze themselves. So when we talk about, getting Maori to clean up their act with all their negative social statistics, he says Maori just can't do that. And I went, why not? Well, Alan explains why. Watch what he says here. He says, speaking of the inability of Maori to self-evaluate and engage in self-analysis, he says, he, that's Maori, cannot contemplate the Pākehā's success in honest terms. In other words, Maori can't look at Pākehā and say, hey, you know what, congratulations on a good job you've done, or that you've got a good job, or you've built a big business, and how did you do it, and we want to copy you. He says Maori can't do that. It's not in their arsenal of abilities and skills. He goes on to say it would mean having to contemplate his contrasting failure with the same honesty. So Maori can't congratulate Europeans and self-evaluate and see what Europeans have done and emulate them, because he says it would force them to contemplate their own failure. Okay, back to the quote. He is not superhuman, especially not in self-analysis and self-criticism. He doesn't have a clue of even these terms. Isn't that interesting?
We're here on behalf of the government, with more Maori ministers than ever before, with more Maori in the joint caucuses than ever before, all who got there on their own merit.
Okay, so they put Winston Peters in there, and Winston's saying that there's more Maori in caucus and more Maori in the government than ever before. They're overrepresented in Parliament, and the reason that's been put in here in this story is because it's trying to show that Maori are on the move, making great gains, and they're amazing, and they're wonderful. This is all part of the Maori wonderfulness campaign that goes on in our media. And of course, Winston Peters didn't mean that. What Winston Peters actually meant when he spoke at Waitangi, he was meaning that, Maori are already represented. What are you on about? They're already overrepresented. What are you on about? What are you protesting about? Maori already have great representation inside government. But they've twisted it and turned it around to make it look like Winston Peters is saying how amazing Maori are. So this man here says, if there's any meddling with the treaty, Maori will not sit idly by. Well, he doesn't understand that they're not meddling with the treaty. All David Seymour is doing is actually getting to the truth of the treaty, what it actually said and what actually happened in 1840. And the irony is, that for the last 50 years, Maori activists have been meddling with the treaty, tutuing with it, changing it, manipulating it, contorting it, changing it. And it's them, ironically, who are the people who have been messing with the treaty for 50 years. And David is wanting to put the handbrake on and say, enough's enough, we need to get back to the truth of the treaty. So this is really laughable, truly.
The government has no plans and never has had plans to amend or to revise the treaty.
Okay, so they put Chris Luxon on saying that the government has no plans to amend the treaty or revise the treaty. They put him in there to sort of say he is one of our supporters. We've got the top guys on our side. The government's on our side. We've got the Prime Minister on our side, who is actually supporting the Maori activist cause, and he is. That's the big problem with Luxon. He's an activist, and he's not stopping co-governance. He's not stopping Maorification. He's keeping it all going through his key player in that parliament, which is Potaka. So the two of them are left hand, right hand, and they are pushing Maorification and co-governance like there is no tomorrow. They are no different from Labour. Not quite as out there as Labour, but under the scenes it's all happening, under the stealth. By stealth, it's all happening just like it was with Labour. And so the TV show is stitching this together to create an impression that they have Chris Luxon on their side. And what are they doing that for? To pile in on David Seymour. To show that David Seymour is out on his own. He's got everybody against him. So this is a cleverly put together little video by Television New Zealand. honour us. Well, really, come on. You need to. There's the flag saying honour us. Actually, David Seymour is wanting to honour the treaty more than anybody else. And it's over the last 50 years that Maori have dishonoured the treaty by manipulating it and changing it and fraudulently playing around with it.
Tēnā koutou no mai haere mai. Welcome to the Principles, a Q&A Waitangi Day special.
All right, that's enough for today, you beautiful New Zealanders. Tomorrow we'll look more into Jack Tame's interview with David Seymour. This gets really, really interesting. I'm telling you, the more this goes on, the more interesting it gets. What I want you to remember for today, what is it that I want you to get? Well, Jack Tame is an activist, financially supported by the controversial public interest journalism fund. Winston Peters called this fund a bribe. So what does that tell you? TVNZ is an activist TV station promoting Maorification and co-governance. There's no doubt about that. The media and activists are piling in on David Seymour, trying to do three things. Just remember these. They're trying to isolate him, they're trying to discredit him, and they want to give the impression that he is acting alone. And all those are false. There's a massive amount of support behind this bill, and we need to support David and get behind him, and it's all going to come out. So let's really give it our best shot to promote these videos, to promote what's happening, to pull the covers off all the fraud and corruption, and make sure David's bill succeeds. Good on you. Right, have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Please share this video with everyone everywhere. The mainstream media should be reporting on the issues I am raising in these videos, but they're not. Why aren't they? Well, they're corrupt. Why are they corrupt? They are collaborating with Maori activists. There's no doubt about that. In the final analysis, the people of New Zealand, that's us, have ultimate power, not the politicians. Did you know that? The people can kick out the people in power and they can put them into power. How are we going to do that? Well, awareness is the key to change. If enough people in New Zealand become aware of the issues I am raising, we can save this beautiful country. So share these videos everywhere so that come the next election, we can vote the right people in and kick out the people who are destroying New Zealand.